you had said something like, I just don't see people not doing what they would otherwise do for God, and I don't see people doing what they would otherwise not do for God, and that stuck with me.
Hey everybody, I am James Rock, and I'm here at the Trout Lake Camps podcast studio with my friend and producer Justin over there. And I am so excited on our 9th episode to finally have some guests in studio. We're on our 3rd week, give or take, of working this through here, but these guys are going to tell us where they're at. This is Lydia, and this is John III, and I'll explain why I called him that here in a minute. But these are early jump on this train kind of people, and basically we just want to talk to them, figure out how this all started and all that kind of stuff today. Probably the first of a 2-part episode that'll be a week from now as well, when we kind of get into the nitty-gritty of how things are going. But John, let's start with you. How did you get involved with Sinless?
Yeah, we were at a big camping event a couple months ago, and you came up to me and said that you had a proposition for me that I couldn't turn down because I was just crazy enough to maybe say yes.
So basically, there's this a few times a year, a bunch of camps will get together and hang out, and I'd been stewing on this idea for a while. It goes way back to a book that I wrote back in the day, and all sorts of stuff, and things that we do at camp. And for whatever reason, we just got revved up on this, and I chose you because you were what?
Crazy enough to say yes.
Yes. So John is the perfect guy to kind of take on this kind of a crazy challenge and see if it's possible to go without sinning for a day. Were we at a week there?
Yeah, you were talking about 7 or 6 days.
Yeah, we were talking about a week. That's kind of where we started. Can you go a week? And then we kind of dialed that back, and now we say both, right? But and you just said yes.
Yeah, it sounded interesting.
Why would you do that?
Well, back to the mortification of sin. As Christians, we're on a constant journey to stop sinning and be more like Jesus. And I was kind of, debating with you a little bit that I don't actually think it's possible, but it seems like a helpful tool on your journey to becoming more like Christ. Yeah,
because that was kind of the debate around the table at the time. Is it even possible to not sin for a day or up to a week that we were talking about then? Is it possible to not sin for a week? And you were the first person that said, I'll give it a try, which I kind of had a feeling you would. Now we should probably explain, we go back a little bit. You've been at Trout for how long?
Something like 15 summers.
Yeah, wow. And so you came as a camper a whole bunch?
Camper, D-team.
D-team's discipleship team, so that's high school volunteers. You did that several summers.
Yep, and then summer staff, and then intern.
And what were you on summer staff?
A cabin leader and then a cabin coordinator.
All right. Cool. Cabin coordinator is the one that runs all the cabin leaders and kind of helps them and kind of leads them. Between our 3 camps, we have 60 cabin leaders on the grounds, give or take. And we've got 6 people that run those 60 people. Yep. And now you are on staff as what?
Adventure director.
Ooh, big time.
Yeah.
So he runs our adventure program and helps people jump off big, tall things, right? All right, cool. This is Lydia. Lydia and I also go way back. How long have you been around Trout?
Well, I was a family camper when I was really young, and then summer camper, and then I was serving on D-team as a middle schooler.
And your grandpa, one of my favorite people on the planet, builds a whole bunch of things around the grounds with rocks and all sorts of stuff like that, which is pretty great.
Yeah.
And so how did you get tied up into this?
Well, a few weeks ago, we were sitting at lunch together having a conversation, and you brought up Sinless, and you were like, hey, you want to join? So you just your invitation.
Just jumped in, just real easy.
I'm a yes-sayer, so.
So for the record, you guys had both heard the mortification talk that we do during staff training, and probably here and there and other places too. Yeah. And so you guys probably heard mortification several times over your last few years. And so this is kind of a re-entry into that in trying to take that talk. What you were just saying earlier, if somebody was just saying earlier, it's not just listen to the talk, but trying to actually do something with that idea of trying to kill sin, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Justin, how did you end up here?
We had a conversation, was it 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Something like, It was about 2 or 3 years ago, yeah. And you had said something like, I just don't see people not doing what they would otherwise do for God, and I don't see people doing what they would otherwise not do for God, and that stuck with me. And then within the last 3 months, I suppose you reached out and started pitching this idea to me and said, I don't really know where it's going to go, but we're going to, I'm interested in trying it out, want to do this thing with me. And I was like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And you and I had been dreaming about doing a podcast for a while.
Yeah.
And could we do that kind of thing? But yeah, it kind of started in this mindset is one, and again, I've probably said this a couple of times, we were probably aiming this a little bit at boys, although Lydia's here, which I'm so excited about, in kind of the mindset, but can we get a concept out there to the masses that says, hey, can you try to reflect Jesus in your day-to-day walk a little bit more? Because for whatever reason, the bother, the struggle is that you see people that, go to church on Sundays or report to be Christians, but it doesn't seem to have an effect on their day-to-day, right? And so that's where Justin and I had been talking and even in staff like you guys that have been at Trout or other ministries all over, different people leave those ministries and have different faith experiences following that. And as anybody in ministry is trying to do, we're just trying to figure out how can we make this teaching stick, right? How can we make it actually enter our hearts and be driven by how we reflect Jesus or how we follow him best. And so, just asking you guys, is there anything that's like you're super curious about this journey off the top? Maybe we should stop. How long have you been doing it, John?
About 3 weeks.
You're about 3 weeks in. Mm-hmm. Now, and again, John, I mentioned it a couple episodes. John and I just came off the same week of just a crazy week, right? Mm-hmm. And so every week's not been perfect from it's kind of ups and downs.
Spring is a busy time here at camp.
A lot going on. And we just found out we got to pull down zip lines and put up new ones just a few minutes ago. Yeah, and so all sorts of stuff going on. How did you, what, are you driven by any piece here?
Yeah, I think there's the piece that we talk about in mortification of, put to death your sin. There's a lot of talk about that, and not very much actually doing it in action. And, so that's what I'm seeing, and that's kind of what's...
kind of the motivation there. Is can we actually grab that flesh, throw it aside, and do the things that we're called to do? Now, just for the record, basically what you guys are going to do is you're just going to share your deepest, darkest sins in this journey so I can get more YouTube views, right? That's kind of the plan.
Yeah, I think that was the deal. I get 50% crap.
50% of nothing, that's going to be a really good deal. Perfect. But nobody's into, we're not going to be sharing these horrible, awful things. What we're trying to do is just kind of figure out a way, how can we help each other? There's a stat that I just came across that was really, really interesting. And I got to find it here for a second. Here it is. It was really, really interesting. They asked a bunch of pastors, is discipleship done best online or is it done best in the church? Now, you got a feeling where the pastors are going to go on that. And this is from Lifeway Research. And basically, 95% of the pastors said the only way that we're really going to have great fellowship and work together and disciple each other is going to be with relationships with people that we're around. And 22% said, hey, it's possible to do that online too. But one of the things that I want to remind you guys in this first episode that we're kind of starting to hang out a little bit more together is you might want to find a friend or two wherever it is that you're living, wherever it is that you're at, that you can kind of take this on together and meet and talk about and kind of drill into how do I reflect Jesus better? How do I try to sin less? Is it possible to not sin for a day? Or, like John the Third here is going, not possible, but maybe. Is it possible to not sin for a week? But you might want to try to find a group. The cool thing about Trout and in just camps in general, or churches in general, or youth groups in general, we've got kind of this community here, and there's already actually more than just the 3-4 of us that are working on this, but there's other people that are kind of knocking on the door door and they're like, hey, that looks fun, I want to try too. And so maybe you can have that happen at your hometown, at wherever it is that you're at, and try to get people kind of caught up in this. But that's kind of where this started in kind of a nutshell. And then we'll all come back together here in a couple episodes and talk about where we're at in this journey.